Hi, and welcome to Not the Fuck Gaming Podcast, a podcast where we talk about games and sometimes we don't say fuck. I am William Hououin, and I'm with.
Zachariah, Old Man Gaming.
Hey, so very happy to have you on this special episode on of the podcast. Grubitten couldn't do it this week, so very happy to have you. It's been a while since I've been wanting to have you on the podcast.
I am so honored and excited to be here. I'm not even gonna lie. I've wanted to be asked on since you started the podcast. I've just been sitting here like, please ask me, like. And then I do also just on the side want to say that I have a weird obsession with recommending games to Gru now. I don't know where it's come from, but I have to recommend games to Grubitten like every episode, and I really look forward to meeting her at some point in the future if you guys will have me back on sometime in the future.
Oh, sure, 100%. The hard part of doing a podcast these days is not recording or editing; it's scheduling. This is the hard part. You have let's plug your thing already. You have a YouTube channel, Old Man Gaming, where you do reviews and podcasts. You can talk about it a bit, just so people know.
Well, first of all, I want to say that if you guys are listening to William Hououin's channel, you're in the right place. You don't have to go to my channel to get good stuff. William Hououin's channel is awesome, and so is this podcast. So I'm gonna plug him first and foremost, because he always manages to plug me first and foremost when I have him on my show. But we have a lot of stuff on Old Man Gaming. We do we're a variety YouTube, which is probably why we do not get a lot of subscribers fast. But we do Let's Plays, we do podcasts, we do reviews, we do just streams. I do streams. We also do some tabletop role-playing game stuff now, which has been really exciting to kind of add that into our repertoire. We run the gambit of weird content, I suppose.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I like the reviews, and of course the podcast. It's definitely the reason I am here. I mean, on your channel. I love the podcast. I love listening to it while I'm at work.
We've got a pretty good thing going, I feel like.
Oh yeah. You and Neil are very good at this podcasting thing. So yeah.
I don't know if I use the words very good, but we're serviceable. I'll give us that.
I'll of course put all the links in the description, so people should go see YouTube's channels descriptions on videos. I feel like nowadays you kind of have to ping something in the comments for people to see it, because nobody's opening the description. But
don't get me started on the algorithms and the descriptions and stuff like that. Yeah. My ever-present battle with YouTube, which is so hypocritical because it's like the only place I post stuff anyway. But it is a constant thing.
Yes, we love YouTube as much as we hate YouTube.
Yes.
But yes. I guess it's a thing for many things.
It is. It's like a 50-50 thing. It's like everything that I love about YouTube, I can find a thing that I hate about YouTube. Like like pros and cons are equal.
Yes, I would agree with that. So, okay, here on this podcast, we get to know the people by talking about the games they are playing. So, what are the games you've been playing lately?
Okay, well, I am so excited to get this question. The only thing that bums me out is right now I have such like a cookie cutter response. I'm usually playing something kind of wild and crazy, but like finally I'm on in the week and the thing I'm playing is like a AAA a AAA whatever game. But the game that I'm playing right now the most is Wild Hearts. It's just
it's the Monster Hunter kind of game, right?
Yeah.
You did a review on this, yeah.
I did, and I stand by that review even after 60 hours, which is nice. I think that because a lot of times, my reviews, for anybody who doesn't know, are snap judgment reviews, because one of my big problems with reviews out there is I feel like people spend so much time with the game that they overlook the problems they may have had in the early goings, because they have to play it all the way through for most reviews nowadays, for most modern day reviews. And I think that, like, because they overlook those like early couple of hours, like somebody who is a dad who has a small amount of time to play the game, like, that's not fair to them. Like, I want you to be able to know if you're going to like this game in the first 5 to 10 hours or not. So, but because of that, oftentimes I keep playing the game and then I realize that it sucks later, you know, and I've released a review where I'm like, this is a great game. And then I find out, like, oh, I'm at 40 hours and this is awful. Like, but yeah, I actually stand by it. The only thing that sucks is still the PC performance on it. They've repaired it like 5 times and it's still not great.
Isn't it a weird time for PC gaming? Because a few years ago, well, if we go back quite a few years, the PC side of things were kind of messy, and the consoles were the way to go. And then in the past few years, PC was top notch. It was always the best place to play games, and I feel we're going back into the PC sucks kind of thing, at least for a while, because usually things get sorted out. But
it's very strange too, because it's almost like PC, like, one of the reasons I was never going to switch to PC because of mouse and keyboard. I don't want to play on a mouse and keyboard. I want to play on a controller. I've always been a very controller focused player. And then I just kind of realized that almost everything now, it's almost like they're making it more accessible, but somehow now that it's more accessible, the games coming out for PC are not as good. And it's very strange.
Yeah, I was watching a guy I like on YouTube, and he tried playing the Callisto Protocol on PC, and he tried for half an hour and refunded it. The stuttering was crazy, and he have like one of those 90 something Ti graphic card. What's the anyway, like the current super good graphic cards, and he has a great PC, and it was complete garbage. And same thing happened with what was it? Wild Art, that's for sure. Performance wise, at least.
I had to really mess with the settings to get it to work. Which is a real bummer. I will say it's nice on PC that you can mess with those settings a lot easier than you can on a console.
Oh yeah, totally.
Because if it's buggy or broken on a console, it's just buggy or broken on a console until you
can't adjust much. Yeah,
right. Like on a PC with this one, I was like, all right, I'm gonna drop my graphics down to the lowest because I'm not really a graphics guy anyway. And then it worked pretty good. I mean, every once in a while I'd have frame rate dips, but overall it worked pretty good, you know. But that's irritating because there's a lot of graphics guys out here, and this is a really graphical game. Like, when those settings are turned up, the world is really, really pretty and beautiful, and you really can't experience that right now on PC because you have to have it set to low if you're going to battle something, you know. So it's a bummer. I do want to give just a couple of quick shout outs to the things I'm streaming, because those are more the things I'd like to recommend to people. Darkest Dungeon is back in Game Pass. Freaking phenomenal game.
I've bought this game. And it didn't grab me at all. Maybe I should try it. Yeah, maybe I should try it again. I have it. I can play it right now.
I think you should try it again, because now you're into the roguelites. You weren't into the roguelites. Yeah, that's true. Before.
Yeah, you're right. And I'm playing a lot of rogues. Yeah.
There's a trick to me, and I don't know how much crossover our podcasts have together. So if nobody has ever listened to my podcast, if they have, they know the tricks. But there's a trick to me, and number one trick is procedural generation. If you have procedural generation in any cool and meaningful way in your game, you're just going to immediately attract me. You're going to immediately pull me in. It's just like, for me, I get so excited when I'm like permadeath and the characters are unique to my gameplay, I'm in. So like Darkest Dungeon has that. Then I'm streaming that. I'm also streaming River City Girls 2, which is absolutely the greatest 2D side-scrolling brawler that has ever been made. I have had a lot of arguments with this with a lot of friends lately who also love 2D brawlers because they do not agree with me, but it is. It's hands down the best 2D side-scrolling brawler that has ever been made. And this is a guy who has been playing 2D side-scrolling brawlers for 20 plus years. Trust me.
I like 2D side-scrolling brawlers, but I'm more into the 2D side-scrolling platform Metroidvania types of games. But one brawler I really enjoyed was Shredder's Revenge. That brought me back to my Turtles in Times years.
Shredder's Revenge is phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. Played all the way through it. I love that game. I was so excited for that game to come out. Created by the same people who did Streets of Rage 4, which was also phenomenal. Just great. We're having like a resurgence of brawlers lately, and it's just amazing. But you can beat Shredder's Revenge. You can beat Streets of Rage 4 in 2 to 3 hours. Like that's what you need to play that game. To play all of that game. River City Girls, I'm on my 9th stream, and I am still playing the main story because it has that much content and depth to it. And
that's very long for that type of game.
Yes, and that's why there's exploration elements, role-playing elements, loot-based elements. Like the game is just so freaking amazing.
All right, maybe is this available on something else than PC?
Everything.
Okay.
River City Girls is on everything. There's River City Girls 1, there's River City Girls, and then there's River City Girls 2. I would recommend just getting 2. You really don't need to have played 1 to follow the story. And basically 1 was great. I liked 1, but 1 is like a demo for 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like 2, they just took 1 and just added 100% to it, basically.
All right, I'm gonna put that on my wish list for PS4.
I gotta shout those ones out. I have to.
Yeah. I like brawlers. I like playing that with my kids. Actually, I have an 11 years old, and it's pretty cool to play those games with him.
You should also check out Young Souls. I think you'd like Young Souls.
All right.
Young Souls has dungeon crawling elements. It's a brawler, but it has dungeon crawling elements. You play. It's only 2-player. It's a brother and a sister, and then it has these in between like storyline scenes. But when you're actually in the brawl, you can pick up different weapons and different shields and different pieces of armor. So your character actually has a loadout, but it still plays like a brawler. Phenomenal game. Kind of got lost in the whole. It was a Stadia exclusive at first. So it kind of got lost in all that. Exactly.
Stadia.
They picked the wrong horse on that one. So then it moved to everything, and it was a game I played all the way through. I have a review for it, I believe, on the channel.
I'm looking at some pictures right now, and it looks great. I like
Phenomenal
how it looks.
Game. Yep. Phenomenal game. I like anything that takes the brawler formula and adds something new to it, just because I think that genre is so ready for expansion, especially now that we're having that resurgence. Like Streets of Rage 4, TMNT Shredder's Revenge kind of brought it back to the forefront. I feel like, okay, that's awesome. And even River City Girls 1 in a way. But now that that's awesome, let's just make these things crazy, awesome, big, and just like put those kind of games in all sorts of genres. And I would be super excited. Give me a games as a service side-scrolling brawler, and you're gonna really blow my mind.
Well, let's hope it will happen at some point in the future.
I'm talking too much. I know I'm talking.
No, it's fine. It's fine. No, it's fine.
I'm excited to be here.
Oh, I'm excited that you're here. It's been a while that I've been wanting to do this. So you can talk. There's no problem. This is the only thing we do here. So I mean, if we don't talk, it's gonna be weird.
Just an hour of us just in silence. Yeah, that old man gaming podcast was real weird.
So, all right. Anything else that you've been playing?
No, not really. Because I have too many projects and I just keep adding them for some stupid ass reason. Even though I have too many, but so no. But I've been playing a lot of Wild Hearts. Wild Hearts is the thing. I am very excited for WWE 2K23 coming out. Because I'm a big wrestling guy, and they've made a bunch of changes to the mode that I loved from the first one. That's coming out next week, so I'm kind of like really jazzed for that. And I honestly, I'd like to even play Hogwarts at some point because that looks really good, and I'm not even a Harry Potter guy. But right now, it's just Wild Hearts, Wild Hearts, and Wild Hearts, and Wild Hearts.
Yeah, it looked pretty good from what I've seen. I like how they kind of streamlined the Monster Hunter formula.
They really did, and that's something I enjoy. I love Monster Hunter World. We have a podcast coming out this week where I don't know which one will come out first, but we just talk about GOATs, like our greatest of all time games, and mine for AAA was Monster Hunter World, and I actually kind of like this one a little bit better, which is weird.
Yeah, well. It is what it is, but I've played Monster Hunter Worlds for quite some time too. I definitely like Monster Hunter. So
if you play Monster Hunter World and liked it, I challenge you to play I challenge you to play Wild Hearts and not enjoy it, because I think there's just so many things in Wild Hearts that like they very obviously copied Monster Hunter World and then put in the stuff that they wanted to put in. You know. Like the food system that they have there is just so much better than constantly visiting that weird cat that cooks for you. And like there's so many cool things in it. But yeah. And then of course Oregon Trail on Switch with my wife because it's the first game in a long time that she's gotten obsessed with.
I need to. It's like Darkest Dungeon. I mean, it's not. Oregon Trail is not like Darkest Dungeon.
I know exactly what you're saying.
No, But for me, I tried Oregon Trail and it didn't grab me, and I feel maybe right now it could, and it's even on Apple Arcade, the subscription games service.
Oh, nice.
So I can play this on my phone without any additional cost. We'll say,
and that would be a sweet game to play on your phone, honestly, because it's all just like clicking menus. So that'd be a sweet game to play on your phone.
Yeah, I've tried it. I think I didn't put enough effort to understand what it was about.
It's just inventory management. How much do you like inventory management? Because that's what that game.
Yeah,
is.
that's.
You should just call it Oregon Trail subtitle inventory management simulator. Like that's what it is.
Yeah. What might be fitting for a bus ride to work, though.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm having like 35, 40 minutes bus rides every morning. So maybe it could do the trick. I'm usually watching some YouTube videos, but maybe I could play Oregon Trails instead.
I think that might be. Give it a try.
I'll try it. Yeah, I'll try it this week. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna read.
You don't have to like everything I like, though.
Oh no! It's fine. We all like the games we like. It's perfectly fine. But I will try it again because it's intriguing. It's
what have you been playing?
I've been playing quite a few games. I'm still on Scourgebringer. I try to not make too much content on this because it's a pretty niche roguelite game, but it's so fast-paced. I don't think that I've had more fun to play any games that I'm having fun playing this. I don't know how you like your difficulty in game. For me, it's pretty different from one type of game to another. Yeah. But I like to be challenged sometimes, and very, very few games had made me want to get better at the game. I guess for you, one example would probably be Sifu. It's a pretty hard game. I've played it. It's pretty hard, and you really need to, have the desire to get better at it. To get better.
Yeah, Yeah, I think that Sifu for me, it's tricky, right? Because normally when you would ask me the question, I'd be like, I'm not like a Dark Souls guy. I don't like that kind of like, not that I don't think those games are good. I think they're great games. They're just, I don't need to be tortured by my game to have fun from it. Like, I'm not that kind of guy who needs to do something 17 times. Like, I want to win it. I want to feel, though, that I accomplished something so it shouldn't be too easy. You know what I mean? But see, then you bring up Sifu, which is like, that's kind of my Dark Souls. And I think the biggest reason that Sifu grabbed me over the other ones, because it is a very challenging game. It's very hard.
Oh, I've played both Dark Souls and Sifu, and Sifu is hard. It's a hard game.
The difference for me, because I've also played both, the difference for me is when I accomplish something in Dark Souls, I don't feel cooler. I feel like I accomplished something, definitely, but I don't feel like cooler. Whereas with Sifu, the accomplishment, the achievement that you feel, that endorphin rush to your brain is instantaneous because you're getting better at kung fu, and it just looks so good on screen when you go into a room and you're like, okay, I got my ass kicked last time. You go into a room and you just clean shop with a pipe and a bottle. And like that for me is like it's immediate. You know what I mean? Like Dark Souls, it's like there's this hard fought fight and you're fighting one thing and it's these trudging attacks and these parries. I'm not saying that's not bad, Dark Souls people out there. I really am not. I'm just saying for me, the fight is not the entertaining part. It's the achievement in Dark Souls. And I want the fight. The fight in Sifu is what kept me in. Like I'm like, wow, just like those scenes that just go almost side scrolling, and you're just fighting through like it's like the raid, and like it's just chef's kiss, you know, when you hit it, you know, and you just like nail it, and you walk through the level like,
This
doesn't get better.
I have very, very similar feelings for Scourgebringer. It's very different than Sifu, but that fast-paced gameplay where you learn it, you get better, and it's super satisfying to get better at it.
Like I'm
kind of obsessed.
You know?
Yeah.
I get it.
I'm a bit obsessed by this game. Even the soundtrack, dude. I'm listening to the soundtrack on my walks and on bus rides and stuff. Everything really grabbed me, and it's kind of unusual. But apart from that, I finally played The Devil in Me, which is the latest release from Supermassive Games. Those guys made Until Dawn, The Quarry, and a bunch of other games. I've played them all. And I think I preferred The Devil in Me to The Quarry, which is...
Oh, wow.
It's
high praise.
Until Dawn is still the best they've made. I feel that it was the first, and I feel they tried to recreate. Actually, The Quarry tried a bit too much to be Until Dawn. I remember. Did you play Until Dawn and The Quarry?
I have not played any of these games. Okay, which is kind of insane because I think they've been nominated at every one of our horrible game awards.
I did nominate them.
It's between you and Danny, I think nominates a lot of them, but yeah, I don't think I've ever played any of these games. They don't.
I mean, how much can we play those games is a good question. There's even an option,
there it is,
which is called movie mode, where you will input in advance, like, okay, this character I think is good with guns, but not very good at being sneaky, and this other characters is don't take very good decisions and stuff like that. And then you press play, and you don't touch the controller until the end of the game. So this is not how I played them.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. That's absolutely crazy to me.
Those games are interactive movies. This is what they are. And I really enjoy them for what it is. I usually just do one playthrough because I'm good with what I get. But there's always many different endings depending on who dies and who doesn't.
Right.
And in the Devil in Me, I was set up to kill every characters. I wanted to try and kill them all. and finally only one died. But
Nice.
it was a lot of fun, and it was based on a true story. I don't know if you know I
Really?
didn't know about that at all. There's a dude that was called H. Holmes, and he constructed an hotel in Chicago in the 1800s. And this hotel was full of traps, and he was killing his customers. And it's a true story. He killed like
Really?
200 people. Yep. He finally got caught, and they hang him. They killed him by
Wow.
yeah. The authorities.
I did not know that. That's
Yeah,
super
it
fucked
was
up.
crazy. I was playing the game and really enjoyed it. And when you finish the game, you unlock some bonus features like how they did the game with motion captures and stuff like that. And there was a one bonus feature called like the first serial killer of the in US. And
Oh,
what?
wow.
And I've looked it up, and I was looking at the documentary and was like, wait, what? This was real? And Googled it, and yep, there's a Wikipedia page and a bunch
Oh,
of stuff
wow.
with a lot of references, and yep, H. Holmes. Just
That
look it up. He was crazy, and he designed this whole hotel himself, constructed it, and yeah, it was
that's
crazy. So
super fucked up.
yeah, it is. So anyway, I've played that. It was very good. The story was good. Didn't connect it with the characters as much as I did in Until Dawn, but really enjoyed it. It would be my second Supermassive games, my second favorite. And I've
that's
been
awesome.
playing like I usually do, some Villagers and Heroes. Been doing even some streams, which is unusual for me to stream
I was
an
about to say,
MMO.
you're doing a lot of streams. I wish I could have tuned into one of them, but it's very hard for me to tune into streams.
Oh, it's fine. I'll be honest and say I don't watch a lot of streams.
Yeah.
I like
And I
doing
do
them.
streams too, and it's like I want to watch more just because I do them, but like at the same time, they're so hard to watch, not because of the content, but because they're kind of like moments in time. Like it's very hard to go back and watch them.
Yeah, after the fact.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's like they're always long, and it's like
yes, this is
right, and it's like so you can never really watch the whole thing, and like it's just I don't know, the completionist in me gets driven nuts by that stuff, you know.
Yeah, no hard feelings. You don't have to watch my streams. It's fine. But I've been streaming this, which was a bit unusual. I ended up even hosting we do some player events, like it's usually happening in MMOs, where I have one that I like to host. It's called Headlines on a Boat. So we go into a particular zone, jump on a boat. There's boats in that place. And then I give 4 letters, and people have to come with some headlines, some funny headlines with those 4 letters.
Oh, that's great. That is not what I thought that video was. I'm going to have to watch it now. I thought it was you doing the news about Villagers and Heroes.
No. It's
from on a boat. I didn't realize it was a fun game.
Yeah, you can just, you don't have to watch the whole thing, but just go watch like 5 minutes just to see what the game is, what this event is. But it's it's player hosted events where we just it's socializing, we'll say. So I've been doing that, and I guess this is pretty much it between Devil in Me, Scourgebringer, and Villagers and Heroes. Pretty much what I've been playing, at least enough to be to talk about it. So,
okay, well, that's awesome, man.
So next thing on our on our podcast is I'm doing some. I have a Discord channel. Link will be in the description if you want to join. And I do some polls on this channel.
Yes.
The first one I made is what's your favorite game of all time? And then I did a second one, which was what's your worst game of all time? And you commented because you are not in my Discord yet, so it's not that Zach's lazy and he doesn't want to answer polls. It's just that he wasn't there when it happened.
Yeah.
But he commented and said like, "Oh man, I wish I could have talked about this. I wish I could have chimed in." And so this is your chance.
Oh no! Oh
What's
no.
your what's your worst game of all time? What would you have answered the poll
I
with?
do want to say to all of you out there before we decided to do this, Will was asking me like, "Hey, what do you want to talk about?" And I was like, "Please, nothing negative." And then the first thing he wants me to talk about is something negative, which just makes me laugh. I think it's because my brand is negative at this point in gaming.
Oh, I like cranky and angry Zach. So it's yeah, no.
Like Will was like, "No, that's not happening. You're gonna get cranky and angry on my show one way or another. I'm gonna make it happen." Yeah, I'm gonna get a lot of heat for this, but Final Fantasy VII sucks. I hate Final Fantasy VII. I think it's one of the worst, most overrated games out there. I think it's the most overrated game out there. It is widely regarded as an absolute classic with a bullet, and I think it should just get the bullet because it is just awful. I hate the story. I hate the gameplay. I hate everything. I hate the characters. I just kept playing it because when that thing came out, I don't know if you remember, but when that thing came out, it was like a cultural phenomenon. You know, it was one of those that was like widespread with gaming was Final Fantasy VII, you know? And like
So
everybody was playing it.
I'm gonna tell you a bit of lore. I'm gonna make it quick. Don't worry. When Final Fantasy came out, when Final Fantasy VII came out, I was still playing on my SNES.
Oh, okay.
And,
So you never got to play it then.
And yeah, my big reveal is that I've never played Final Fantasy VII.
Okay.
I've played Final Fantasy 9, 12, and the MMO 14.
I'm surprised because it's like considered the JRPG of JRPGs, you know?
Yep.
Like it's the one. So I was expecting you to be like, get off my show, or like do the question that you did last time, which was like, how do I get somebody how do I disconnect somebody from the podcast?
Yeah, you know how to remove somebody. Yeah,
how do I remove somebody?
And I have a weird kind of hate for the early 3D games, the N64 and PS1. I mean, there's a bunch of PS1 games that I think looks great and are cool, like Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Let's take this example. But the early 3D games, I think, are so incredibly janky, and they really didn't age well.
They were trying something, and it was pushing the boundaries at the time.
Oh, so it was super cool at the time. I remember, dude, when Mario 64 came out, there was a lineup in stores just to try it for like 5 minutes on the display console.
Yeah, and I don't care what anybody
It was crazy.
You play even the remastered edition. That game is fucking not great. Not great. Like as a holdup, you know.
Yeah, so I when I could have played Final Fantasy VII, I was like, nah, I think it looks pretty bad. Not my. I really don't like early 3D games, so I never get around to playing it. And Steam's, I'm not missing that much.
All right. Well, that's good because I thought I was gonna get X'd. It was a cultural phenomenon when it came out for all of me and my friends. Yeah. So like what was it? So everybody was playing it, and it was like if you weren't playing it, you weren't cool. You didn't have something to talk about at, the table. And like so I kept going back to it. I kept like trying to, which made it worse because it was forcing myself to play this game that I hated just so that I could be cool because I was young and stupid and didn't realize that who gives a shit. But
indeed.
Right, but I just kept playing it even though I hated everyone, and anybody who I started to like, they found a way to make me hate him later. Like even like Barrett, I loved Barrett, and then later he's got this whole storyline with this other guy, and I'm like, oh, now he's an idiot, and like so all the characters were terrible. The story was like everybody's like the story is amazing. I'm like the story is just the height of anime garbage, and I'm not talking like anime is garbage. I'm talking about like shovelware Shonen Jump garbage storytelling in my opinion. And I know people out there are gonna like come at me. The only cool character in the whole thing is a bad guy who dies a third of the way through the game, and that's Rufus. Rufus is a villain to be celebrated. He showed up, and I was like, yes. Now, even though I'm the good guy, I don't care. This dude is badass. He's a good bad guy. He's, walk-in level bad guy, and then he just fucking dies. And I'm like, God, and now I have to listen to Sephiroth whine for 50 more hours while Cloud's whining for 50 more hours. And I'm sorry, I know that there's a suspension of disbelief when it comes to games and like in the battle versus outside the battle, but give Eris a phoenix down and call it a day. All he did was stab her. I have watched her get shot in the face by missiles from Mecha.
Yes, indeed.
Like, I know that there's supposed to be like, everybody's like, well, it's an in-game item versus yeah. I'm like, she fought a mecha. She didn't get hit by anything while fighting the mecha, and this dude's really long sword kills her, like just ends her fucking life. Like patch it up, and it's a gut shot too. She's got at least like 15 minutes. Patch her up, walk her to the hospital, get her sewed up. Like, what are we doing here?
It makes me think of, in those games where you fight a bad guy and he's super hard and you really need to work for it. And then he joins your party and he sucks.
He sucks.
In the battle right after against the regular enemies, and he's not good.
It's just the worst. And you're like, what happened?
They're doing this all the time.
And then
you really need to not think too much because, you're right. You get shot by a missile and you're fine.
The music in that game is awesome. I did like the music, but then you get to and I'm going to spoilers for the next 5 minutes for Final Fantasy VII for a 20-plus-year-old game. Just let everybody know. But you get to the final boss, right? And it's like this big fucking and the whole time you're like, my guy has a big giant sword. The bad guy has a big giant sword. What do you want to see? You want to see a sword fight. That's the end, right? Like, that's the resolve that we're pushing towards. It's a big sword fight. That's what I want. I want to see him have a DBZ style sword fight at the end, or some way of doing that in turn-based, right? So you get there.
It makes sense. Yeah.
He turns into this giant monster, which you fight, and I'm like, I don't want another weird Akira-style monster boss. Then you beat him, and then he ends up turning back into a human and just has his shirt off, which, okay, now I'm in, because that immediately means we're going to have a badass fight, because I don't know why that started, but if two guys want to have a fight, or two guys want to have a fight at the end of an action movie, they have to take their shirts off. I don't know why, but I'm all for it. He's got his shirt off. We're ready to do that Rambo fight scene. You press one button, and it just fucking kills him. And I'm like, this is like every time they started to do something cool, they just stepped on it in front of you. And we're like, you like this? Do you like this? And then they just step on it and be like, no, you don't get it. And like every time you got a cool character, like, oh man, the Turks were awesome. They get pushed to the back immediately. Rufus gets croaked immediately. Like, oh, you like this character? Well, now he's going to be a really wishy-washy idiot for like 3 hours of the game, and you're never going to have respect for him again. It's just like, oh man, that game. And still to hear people say, like, compare it to games nowadays, like, I'm like, get out of here with that shit. Get out of here with that shit.
Nostalgia is very, very powerful.
It is.
I think there's probably a lot of people that are blinded by it. And there's probably a lot of people that really do genuinely enjoy it a lot.
That's true. And more power to those people. I think also I am extra triggered by it because of what I went through with it, because everybody loved it. And I just tried on the same page, and I kept pushing myself to play it, and I kept watching other people play it, and like then listening to them talk about the cool parts, and me just sit there like, how do you possibly think that was cool? Stuff like that. And it just, I think that's just one of those things that like it made an even worse indentation on me, So there's my rant. There you go. You got some cranky Zach.
Yep. Mission accomplished. I got some cranky Zach. All right. So, final talking point. Is there any games that you enjoyed but never thought you would?
Yes, there are.
Like, yeah, a game that you look at it and oh no, it's not for me, and then you try it and it works.
Yeah. There's a good amount of them. I think, man, I'm trying to I'm trying to pick one because I would have to say almost all of my gaming, my most beloved games are games that like when I first went into them, I didn't think I was going to enjoy them, and then they just proved me wrong somehow.
Okay, so let's take three. You have three games you can name.
All right,
that would help.
That'll help. I'll say Skyrim, State of Decay 2, and Wildermyth.
Okay, so why did you think you wouldn't like Skyrim?
Okay, so all right. So when I was younger, I was the opposite of what I am now. I wanted a game that I could play through in an afternoon and enjoy the story and be done with it, while also enjoying the gameplay. So my favorite games of all time were Max Payne 1, Max Payne 2. Like absolutely, they were bar none. I've played through those games so many times I have them memorized in my head. Like actually the words, like I can repeat the words back. I just loved it. Plus those fit my aesthetic. I'm really into like noir and detective stuff too. It's something we very rarely talk about on gaming stuff, but I'm just very into that kind of stuff.
You're right. There's not a bunch of detective games actually.
No. And I've actually pitched back when we used to do Horrible Arena. I pitched one that would be like have procedurally generated cases that I think would just be fucking amazing. Like I love detective stuff, and there's really not a whole lot of good detective stuff. I think the only thing you could really look at are like Sherlock Holmes, that company that makes those do a serviceable job with them. But yeah, it's hard to do good detective stories in video games. But Max Payne just kind of had the shooting and the grittiness of it. And then there just came a point where I had this twist in my life where like I didn't want to buy a game every week. You know, I wanted to get a game where I could go into that game and play that game. I could go into that game anytime and find something new. So like then I was like, all right, maybe I never want to finish a game. And like because usually when I was younger, it was all about finishing games. And then I just got to this point where I was like, I don't ever want to finish a game because I never want to be done with it, you know, if I like it. So Skyrim came out. I had never played an Elder Scrolls, and I purposely avoided Morrowind because I saw someone play it and I was like, no way, never. That game is not for me. Never going to enjoy something like that. Like he's jumping around to increase his jump skill. I was like, this is dumb. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be part of this.
I remember when you wanted in Morrowind, when you wanted to increase your walking speed, you were just putting yourself on a wall, sticking your and go.
Terrible.
Then you could do something else in your life, come back a few hours later, and
I watched my brother everywhere he went. He'd jump, and I'm like, "Why are you doing that?" He's like, "To increase my jump skill." I'm like, "Why?" It
makes sense, though. In a way, the more you do a particular thing, the better you get at it.
It does. However, like I was sitting there like, so you jumping is going to make you better at jumping, but what does jumping get you in this game? And from what I can understand, not a whole lot of anything. So I don't. It's you're increasing a skill that doesn't matter, man. I don't understand. But they also only had the first-person view back in Morrowind, and we actually talk about this because Skyrim's one of my goats on an upcoming podcast of mine. So this is kind of weird because I just talked about this on Thursday. But so I tried Skyrim based only on the fact that they said 500 plus hours of content, and I had never heard a number like that, like ever. I'd never heard a number.
It's a lot. Lot.
I mean, for back then, I was like 500 plus hours of content on the 360. I was like, what? How is that possible? And Skyrim it immediately hooked me. It completely rewrote everything that I wanted in a game from that point on. And I don't want to get too loquacious on this because I know we've got a time limit, but basically, and this is something I just recently talked about, but it allows you to make a character and then make the character in your head like you're playing Dungeons and Dragons or a tabletop role-playing game, and then do what your character wants, and you will get a story out of it. And it doesn't have to be the main story. The main story in that game is as important and as quality as everything else, and nothing's locked behind it. So, and this is one of the things, like after you get out of the tutorial of Skyrim, you can point your character in any direction and start walking, and you will find a story that has a beginning, a middle, an end with satisfying plot twists in it. Like, no matter how you walk, you're going to find one of those. And that for me was like, boom, this is it. Because anytime I play this game, I'm going to have something new to do, period. And it just completely rewrote how I looked at games as a whole. So that's why Skyrim changed it.
All right, pretty interesting. Never got to finish Skyrim. Bought it twice and never.
You should never finish Skyrim. You should never finish Skyrim. It's not
actually, yeah.
It's
not a game to finish. Yeah.
What I would do is I would make a character, and then I decide what his motivations were in my head, and then when I thought he was done, I'd stop playing him. I had one character that like his whole thing was like have a family and adopt kids. Minute he did that, I was like, all right, this is his happy ending. I don't need to play this character anymore. I had another character who never even killed the first dragon. Like, my first character never killed the first dragon because I was so obsessed with joining the Thieves Guild that the minute I got out of the tutorial mode, I just went to the Thieves Guild town, and I literally played the Thieves Guild for fucking 50 plus hours. Like,
yeah, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
That you never even
started the main story. I never even started the main story with that character. Like, that kind of stuff for Skyrim. And I know everybody's just like, it's re-released, and everybody's kind of sick of hearing about, but it's one of those games that just like, anytime you play it, you know?
Yeah, I get that. It's pretty cool that you can just skip the main story.
I'll be 100% quicker on the other games.
All right, go. Yeah, it's fine. Go ahead.
The other two were State of Decay 2 and Wildermyth, right? So State of Decay 2, I hate zombie stuff. Hate it. Hate zombies. I don't have any problem with people who like zombies. It's just not my thing. I avoid things with zombies. I think I'm sick of them. I don't like watching dead people eat people. I just don't like it. However, I love procedural generation. And one of the reasons I love procedural generation is State of Decay 2. State of Decay 2 was in Game Pass. It wasn't in Game. Was there Game Pass at the time? No, there wasn't Game Pass yet. It was a $20 game, but this was the first time I had heard, other than No Man's Sky, which didn't come to Xbox until much later, of like real procedural generation, and it generates the characters. It generates the characters in State of Decay 2. There are no like standard playable characters. When you boot up, it's permadeath, and your characters are unique to you. And then you have to make them work in a zombie community. And I was like, okay, the zombies is a put off, but this is just such a cool technological thing that I've got to give this a try. And I'm still playing that game today.
Yeah, and I can tell to anybody who's not subscribed to your channel, Zach is doing a lot of State of Decay 2 content.
I do.
You've played this for many, many hours. That's for sure.
Many hours. We have multiple podcasts. And what's really cool about it is because when you survive, your community members go into something called a legacy pool, and you can start another community with them. So basically, and they've even furthered that too, because they just keep adding stuff where now, instead of just picking 3 of those characters to start another community with, you can actually just move your community to another map. So, you've completed that. Now move it to another community, and you have all the same characters. So you get this like long-winded story of characters that are unique to you. You know, so it's one of the reasons I can never put it down, because my State of Decay streams Like, we had a character just recently die, and like we basically had a funeral for her because she had been around since my first game and everybody was obsessed with her. We had given her such personality. She had a gun that was named. Like that's one of those cool things is you start to imprint these kind of personalities onto the characters, especially if you're streaming it and your audience is getting into it. They end up starting to have favorites. And then when she died, it was like deaths in that game are like
you can't
heartbreaking.
Because there's no way to bring her back ever.
Yeah. We had a character called Brewski, and he had this because you get him and he's just like he's with a bunch of people and they're all like alcohol brewers, and Brewski was his name, like his nickname. He had another name, but everybody just called him Brewski, and he looked kind of like a college bro sort of guy. But he had this crazy trait on him where he was obsessed with like ecological recycling and stuff. So we ended up creating this character on the stream called the Recycle Bro, where he would just constantly yell at people in a zombie apocalypse to separate their plastics from their aluminum and stuff. And like people loved it. Like I would just be like, you gotta separate your plastics, bro. You got it, bro. And like stuff like that. So like people just got obsessed with him. And when he died, it was the first time. Like it was the first time where like the whole, like everybody was like, what do you mean he's dead? Like he's dead. And like I just sat there on stream. Like he was my favorite guy. I don't know what to do with I lost a friend. It just makes you so attached, you know?
Yeah, this is pretty cool. This is good gaming stories. Yeah.
Wildermyth, final one. I'll go into it. The reason I didn't think I'd like it is it's a CRPG. It's a turn-based kind of, not turn-based like a JRPG, but a turn-based like you move characters around a board sort of thing.
Yeah. Baldur's Gate, let's say.
Yeah. Like Baldur's Gate. Yeah. Right. But the reason I tried it is they used procedural generation. I know, it's my buzzword. They used procedural generation to do the story, and I wanted to see that work. Amazing, phenomenal game. They also did the CRPG in a way that like it's not too cumbersome, which a lot of CRPGs have way too cumbersome stuff.
Those games are very complicated. I've been trying lately to play Divinity Original Sin 2 because I'm quite a big fan of the old Baldur's Gate series, and man, this is complex. Making all the skills work in synergies with one another, choosing the right companion with the right skills, and using it in the right place. Right. It's hard.
Wildermyth simplifies it. I wish it was on a console. I'd tell you to pick it up because it's cheap. It's under $20. But they procedurally generate your characters, and then the stories that are procedurally generated are based on the characters that you have with you. And your characters can fall in love with each other. They can become rivals with each other. They can then have kids who join your team later. And you just have this living roster of characters that's just in this like living storybook that you're creating, and it's just phenomenal. Just phenomenal. But it's a CRPG, which CRPGs tend to like get me because you'll have this point where you're like, okay, I've been in this one fight for 40 minutes and I'm going to lose it. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to play this game again, you know? And
fights can be very long. Yeah.
And when you fail them, it's like, it's earth shattering. It's like, it's just a nightmare, you know?
Oh yeah. I know. This is one of the reasons I kind of dropped Divinity. I'll come back to it at some point, I'm sure, because I like those games. But you really need to be in the right mindset to approach them and take the time to read the skill and learn how they complement each other. We'll say.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Those are hard games to get into.
I talk too much, I know. But those are my three.
Just a quick plug for Mortismal Gaming. Is a fantastic YouTuber that is really, really into CRPG, and he's making a bunch of guides for a bunch of games. Really something to go look for. He probably made a lot of content about Wildermyth too, because he played them all. Yeah, I've been following him for quite a few years. Now he's at like 150,000 viewers, subscribers. His
Oh
channel is
wow,
he's getting pretty big,
that's
which
awesome.
was which was really not the case like 3 years ago, where
That's awesome.
where he was like at 10,000. It was, respectable size, but
It's
he's
hard to
getting
grow.
kind of big.
It's hard to
And
grow, man. It's hard
oh
to
yeah,
grow.
it's hard. And if you want to grow, I feel like the right way to go is to cover one particular type of game or even just one game and
Yep. Yep.
do that every day, all week, and
You
you'll
got to
grow.
game
But
that
it
algorithm.
sucks.
Yeah, you got to game the algorithm, and that's something we decided when we were doing our channel right in the beginning. We were like, look, we can either do this to get subscribers, which we'll end up hating it, or we can do this to do this and hope we get subscribers. And we ended up the second, and we got 362 subscribers. I'm happy with that, and we slowly keep going up, but it's still like if we just did Borderlands content, we'd be at 2,000 by now.
Probably yes,
Yeah,
probably yep.
yeah.
But you
But
would be sick of
right,
Borderlands too.
we'd be
That's the
absolutely
thing.
sick of Borderlands. We'd hate YouTube. We'd hate doing it. So
Yep,
yeah,
one
it's
hundred
kind of
percent.
it's a real catch-22. So
Yeah. So I
do
only
you
have
have one? I
yeah, I
gotta
have
ask.
one. I thought about it quite a bit, and there's two things I really like in games. It's either good gameplay, actiony gameplay where it's fun to press the button and move your characters around, or fantastic stories. Very heavy story-based game like JRPG. I don't play like JRPGs for the the gameplay. I play them for the story, for the characters. Same thing in the opposite. I don't play Shredder's Revenge because the story is so cool. I play it
Right,
because it's fun to press buttons and do combos and stuff.
right.
So one game I never thought I would enjoy was Animal Crossing. I've played that
Oh,
on my Nintendo DS back in the day,
oh,
and man, I love this game. Oh god, I've played this so much. And it's definitely a game that doesn't have a good story and doesn't have that much of a fantastic gameplay. It's doing chores and come back the next day to do more chores. It's
I I am with you, man. Animal Crossing is one that's like, why do I like this? But I
yeah.
love this. The only thing I don't like about Animal Crossing is the guilt. The guilt. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. Some people don't experience it. But like if you want to put that game around down, like there starts to be a point where I'm like, man, I haven't talked to Chicky in like 3 days. She's gonna
Oh
wonder
yeah.
where I am and be
Yeah.
upset. Like
You
they
need to
become your
remove.
friends, and you're like, oh man, Zeke is there, and like,
It's a game
oh
you
man.
need to play every day, of course,
Yeah,
because there's some weed to remove and some plants to water and some
right.
people to tend to their needs. Oh, of course.
And I'll
When you
start to
put,
feel bad, like they're real people, like I'm letting them down. Like, where were you to fix everything?
yep, I totally get it. Never played another Animal Crossing than on my Nintendo DS, but
Mm.
man, I really really enjoyed Animal Crossing, which is weird because it's definitely not my cup of tea.
Definitely not a normal Will Hououin game.
Oh no! I've tried to like Stardew Valley. Didn't really work for me the same way that Animal Crossing did. Even though they're kind of similar in a way.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Stardew was weird for me too. I couldn't really get into Stardew. I know that that's some other people's games, and I
yeah,
just
I've played this enough to understand why people like it, and it's definitely a
yeah,
fantastic game. And thinking it's been made by one dude in his basement is really cool.
yeah, it
I really
is.
like this. Those one man dev stories really get me. But
Yeah, yeah. I agree with that.
yeah, it didn't really work for me.
Yeah, it
But
didn't
yeah,
work.
Animal Crossing is my game, my surprising game that I've
That's a good
enjoyed.
one. That is a
Oh
good
yeah.
one. That's a good one.
So we do a gaming podcast, but I always like to ask some important question
Yeah.
at the end. And this week is, why do round pizzas come in square boxes?
Oh man.
You like pizza. You and Neil
Oh, I
always
love
send pizza
pizza.
to each another when you
Yeah,
do
we
some
do.
bets. Um, so why don't they make round boxes?
I think. I mean, like, I
I
don't
don't
have a.
have an answer.
I wish I could have a funny answer for this, but I think the reason is square is easier to store, stack, and hold in a place. So, like,
oh yeah,
if you're
right.
trying to move from point A to point B with
A
a
stack of
circle,
boxes. Yeah.
right, a stack of circle boxes, you're going to have a way harder time than a stack of square boxes. And I think it comes down to it's just easier to have the angles. I do want to say, fun thing about pizzas, I don't actually get to eat pizza as much as I like because my wife does not like pizza. So it and
Yeah, my
I
kids don't like pizza, and it's
your
annoying me.
kids don't
Yeah,
like pizza.
my
Oh my
kids
god,
can't
you got to
eat.
get them checked, man.
Yeah, they don't like anything that has like melted cheese or even warm cheese. It
Holy
it
shit.
doesn't work. So lasagnas, nope, no lasagnas. Pizza, nope.
How do you eat, man, without cheese? Like,
Yeah.
I
Oh
mean,
well,
my body reflects it, but shit, that's I'm 90% cheese.
yeah, I love cheese too. I really do. But well, sometimes we do make pizzas, but we do something else for the kids.
I see. I
And
see.
when my wife is making lasagna, she she leaves the part without cheese. So
Oh, lasagna
yeah,
without cheese.
yeah,
That's a crime.
yeah. But this is the only way we can eat lasagnas because
Oh,
kids won't
oh,
eat.
not
Yeah,
the cheese. That's like wet noodles. I can't. No, man. I need the cheese, baby. I need the cheese.
yeah,
Oh,
me too. I don't get it, but yeah, it is what it is. My kids don't like warm or melted cheese. They like
oh, I
cheese
can't
though.
complain. I can't
Uh,
complain about the wife then, because every once in a while she gives in and we get a pizza. So I can't complain about the wife, because kids are way harder to convince them to eat something they don't want to.
yes, yeah. There's
Way
actually
harder.
there's no way.
There's
So
no
it's
way.
yeah,
There's no way. Anybody out there who's like gonna have kids, or anybody out there who's looking at another family and is like, I would never be one of those parents who cooks a separate meal for my kids. You will. You will.
oh
Just
yes,
you
yes,
wait. You
yeah.
will. You're gonna be a person who buys chicken nuggets when you're gonna cook burgers just because you don't want to fight with your kid to make them choke it down. Like, you're gonna cook another meal. It's just gonna happen.
Yes, yes, indeed. Um,
Resign yourself to this.
all right, so we've covered everything I wanted to cover. Thank you very much for coming talk games with me.
I had so much fun, and I'm so honored to be here, and I'm so happy you had me, guys and gals out there. William Hououin is one of our most staunch and long-term listening contributors to my podcast and my channel. When he started his own, I was super excited about it. I love his podcast. And can I just say on air, the name of this podcast is so fucking cool. I say it to William all the time, but the fact that he has a self-fulfilling prophecy in as the name of his podcast, because the podcast is called Not the Fuck Podcast. You have to say fuck it's amazing. It's amazing. I love
Actually,
it. It's genius.
It's Grubitton's idea. She's
What?
the one who came up.
Oh,
Yep, she's
Gru.
the one who came
Slow
up with the
clap.
name. Yep.
Slow clap. And I know I said fuck a lot because any podcast with me on it is Yes the Fuck Podcast. Because I can't
Yes.
stop swearing.
Oh, it's fine. I don't care at all. But yeah, so go look up Zach's channel. I'm gonna put the link in the
I would
description.
appreciate it.
A bunch of reviews, podcast. He's doing
a lot of
very.
stuff.
You're doing a very different podcast than me. I talk about games, but you talk about, of course, games too. But you're really covering the news. This is where I get my gaming news.
We do tend to go into the economy, the behind the scenes stuff, the news a little bit more. There are plenty of episodes where we just talk about games and gaming, but we do tend to hit the headlines. And might I just say, this is an eternal regret for deciding to do our show this way that has stuck with me all these years, because it is a nightmare, folks.
Yeah, it's kind of depressing, and I don't tend to consume a lot of gaming news these days.
It's a good call. Just play the games and stay away from the news.
But but at the same time, I'm happy you do, because I like being informed, at least of an overall what's going on in gaming, what's coming up, what's going to be disappointing in a few months.
What's going to be disappointing? That's what you should name the episode. What's going to be disappointing in a few months? It is a real. We try to be funny about it. I feel like
you are.
You say that, so I will trust you on it. I know I listen back to it, and I only ever think that we're trying to be funny but very depressing. But that's
no. It's not. Well, it's not. Sometimes it is when you get into the Activision Blizzard stuff. The lawsuits.
Will, if we talked about Activision Blizzard, I'd throw myself down a flight of stairs. When he asked about that, when he asked about the subject, I was like, if you say Activision Blizzard, I'm going to throw myself down a flight of stairs.
Yeah. Well, I've mentioned it, but we won't talk about it. But when you get into those type of news, of course, there's not many ways to be funny about it. But
there isn't.
Usually, I laugh. It's fine. CGI trailers and game comes out, and it's not the same thing at all, and people are just. It's funny. It's fine.
We've had a little luck this year. I think Neil saying that it's potentially like 2016 is a little early, but we've had a little luck with the game releases this year. At least the game releases.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good year for gaming, indeed.
Yeah, so far I have a hard time being optimistic anymore. like this far in, like every year I'm like, I think this is going to be a good year, and then December comes around and I'm like, this is a fucking nightmare year. It was terrible, nothing came out, and I'm sad. So like I nowadays, like Neil, like we're like, I can't believe that as long as I've done this with Neil, we're 2 months in, and I can't remember if I put this as a bonus somewhere or not, but he mentioned, he's like, I'm kind of starting to feel like this could be 2016. I'm like,
yeah, he talked about it in the latest episode.
I did.
Yeah, he said it. Yes, you did. Yeah.
Because for our podcast, we have in between cuts, and then I just take 2 snippets of those and stick them at the beginning and the end as a cold open and a bonus. And I can never remember what I put on the show and what I didn't. But he said that, and I'm just like, dude, have you learned nothing? Have you learned nothing from this? I am not going to say it's a good year until 2024. Like, there's no way I'm going to say it, because something's going to go wrong. I mean, we're still supposed to get Starfield in September after.
We'll see about that. Yeah, we'll see. Starfield 2025.
They were like, release date announcement. I'm like, that's a delay. This is a delay again, right? Like, you can't call it a release date announcement and move the date back and just pretend like it wasn't supposed to be earlier. Like,
they can. They can. They do what they want. They can. They're not. They have no imputability for anything. They can show you what they want, tell you what they want, and there will be no consequences when they don't deliver what they said they would.
Spiraling. This is the kind of negativity I bring to my podcast to see what's happening right here. Is I'm very toxic, and not on purpose. It's just I step into a podcast and we end up just complaining about games. It's just
it's from experience. It's because of what we experience, and at some point there's a pattern.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. My fingers are crossed that we have a good year, but
yeah. One point on a line is just a point, but 15 points make a line, and at some point,
thank you.
Yeah. There's a trend,
and the public is very forgetful too, which that always bothers me. Like, I'm sitting here surrounded by people telling me Cyberpunk 2077 is a good game now, and I'm like, no, No, it doesn't get to be a good game now. Like it doesn't get to be a good game 3 years after it released and then charge you for a DLC. That's not how it works, man. Not for me. Like
yeah.
That's why I always say on my show, I'm like, you're going to be one of two assholes. You're either going to be an asshole who buys the game, hates it, puts it down because it's a piece of shit, and then complains about it until such time as the second type of asshole starts playing it once it's actually good, and then they come to you and say, I don't know what was ever wrong with this. Like, you pick which one you want to be. You're either you're a-hole number 1 or a-hole number 2. That's it. In gaming, anyway.
All right.
On that
note, happy gaming. Oh, fun playing games.
Thank you so much for having me. Just one more time. And Drew, I'm looking forward to possibly coming back and doing a show with you as well. I think both of you, what you do here is awesome. I know I've already said it multiple times, but I love this show and I love your channel. Just keep on doing it. And thank you. I'm honored to be invited as a guest.
Well, I'm very happy we could finally manage to do it. So thanks a bunch for coming to talk games with me.
Definitely.
All right.
Definitely.
So thanks and thank you everybody for watching. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.